Tonight, we bring to you the latest breaking news in the NFL. Early today, it was announced that some players announced their retirements. Also tonight, we break down the shocking trade in the NBA between the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Lakers that has the entire world of sports in a frenzy. Plus, we continue our coverage of Super Bowl 59. Our Nation Sports Show is next. Our Nation Sports Show. The wait is almost over. Tonight on the Nation Sports Show, we bring to you our final full analysis, previews, and predictions for Super Bowl 59. In the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana, it is the Kansas City Chiefs facing the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of Super Bowl 57. 2 years ago, when these two teams met in the Super Bowl, it was Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs defeating Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia in one of the greatest Super Bowls ever played. 2 years later, these two teams meet once again on the biggest stage in the National Football League. But there is one key new ingredient to this Super Bowl on Philadelphia's offense: Saquon Barkley. After one electrifying year in Philadelphia, Barkley has these Eagles on the verge of slaying the beast in Kansas City. This will not be an easy game for Kansas City to three-peat as Super Bowl champions, as Philadelphia's high-flying offense and one of the best defenses in the NFL will look to take down Mahomes and Kansas City's dynasty. Will Philadelphia win their second Super Bowl in franchise history? Or will Chiefs Kingdom make NFL history and three-peat as Super Bowl champions?
Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up.
Good up to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time once again. We are live. What is happening, everybody, in the world of YouTube? My name is Desert Vickery. This is our Nation Sports Show. And like a cue, right on the clock, look who shows up. None other than this guy, but we'll introduce him in a second. But we thank you guys for joining us as always. Happy Tuesday. Happy the Tuesday before Super Bowl Sunday. And trust me, we got a big week of sports coming up, and can't wait to discuss it all here today. We got some breaking news, some retirements, a few other news, though, some blockbuster trades in the world of the NBA. Obviously, NFL, like I said, some retirements, a few other news notes in the other worlds of sports, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But first, if you want to interact with us, you can interact with us here on the YouTube at Our Nation Sports Show. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias at Owen_Sports Show on Facebook.com/Our Nation Sports Show and Instagram.com/Our Nation Sports Show. Don't forget also to follow our sister show, The Nation's Corner, at The Nation's Corner on
Check 1, check 2.
Nation's Corner at the Nation's Corner on the YouTube and on Instagram, as well as Nation's Corner on Instagram.
Check.
Holding. Okay, we're good.
Check.
Holding. All right. Anyway, sorry about that. But that's you can interact with them in the Nation's Corner, who are on 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. They talk all things pro wrestling, and after an amazing, historic Royal Rumble, where we saw surprises, winners, champions, and everything in between, they're going to get into that. And also, of course, a big Monday Night Raw post that, and everything that's going to happen for the rest of the week in pro wrestling will be discussed on their show. Like I said, the guys and gal will take care of you on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, after having last week off due to the early start time of the countdown to Rumble and the Royal Rumble pay-per-view itself. Also, don't forget to follow my crew at 2 Sweet Cosplay across all socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the whole gambit. We're getting things up and running as we get ready to head into con season with some new posts, including a couple of our comrades were in Indianapolis at the Royal Rumble, and there was some photos and video on a recent post. So go to at 2 Sweet Cosplay and look that up. You'll get some cool video and audio live from not only Lucas Oil Stadium, but also too from the WWE Superstore as well. So definitely check all that out. Like I said, at 2 Sweet Cosplay. All right, enough plugs, enough putting out stuff, all that good shit. Let's move on to who we got in the crew tonight. And obviously, we got with us a man who joined us at the very start of the show. Outside of being a fairly recent new parent, he is also one of the main followers of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the only one that actually follows him on this show because Lord knows he can't support a good team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome JT, Joey Thornton. What's up, man?
Okay, first off, screw you for that comment. Okay. But what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing Tuesday. But what's going on?
You may want to change your settings too, because there is a massive delay. Just come back in because we can hear you, but just come back in, and so that way your mic can connect. Because I think you're still in the testing side of things because you were trying to test your audio. So just come back in, and we'll continue.
All right, no problem.
Yep,
All right.
Not a problem. That's what happens when you're live, and how fitting this guy showed up at 3 minutes into the broadcast.
Yes, cue 3-minute warning music here.
Yes.
Better than the generic music that they used for the New Day. Let's bring on I'm kidding. Shout out to Mega Ran. Great guy. He did the song for New Day, so awesome. Anyways, let's move on to this guy, and that's of course the patriarch of this motherfucking show. Without him, the show would not be possible. He is my heavy metal brother from North Carolina. And unlike Dream Theater's latest album, none of his stuff will be leaked out to the internet. Because a lot of his stuff you got to pay $9.99 a month for on OnlyFans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, especially when you want to see his sticks. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Steve Wyand.
That's fantastic. What is going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. We are so excited to be here tonight. What a great time to be a sports fan. What a great time to be a professional wrestling fan, because like Ezra pointed out, the Royal Rumble was just this past Saturday. And man, oh man, it was a phenomenal POE from pretty much from top to bottom. Both Rumble matches delivered, and that Cody and KO ladder match was, that was brutally good. So good. Looking forward to tonight. So we're going to be giving our predictions for Super Bowl 59. We're also going to be recapping the latest news in the NFL, the NBA, and a whole hell of a lot more. And with that being said, let's get this show on the road.
Absolutely. Before we begin our usual spot, want to send our condolences out to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods unfortunately lost his father yesterday, and we definitely want to send our condolences and prayers to the entire Woods family at this point in time. He announced that on his social media that his father had passed away.
All right, Joey's back.
And Joey is back, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what happened to start off with in some unfortunate news that we heard earlier today. Obviously the two big topics.
No, it's doing it again. What the hell?
Check 1, check 2.
I think you're good.
Check 1.
Oh,
check
no, it's doing it away again. What the hell? That's weird.
Okay. Check one. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's doing that delay thing again.
It didn't do it that time. It didn't do it that time.
Okay, good.
It's probably gonna keep doing it off and on. He's probably just gotta maybe come in and out of the room. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, I'm actually using a different computer tonight. That's probably why.
Okay.
But yours bit to dust.
Yeah. I'm using my wife's old Chromebook tonight.
I think
See,
the delay. I think the delay is gone, so we're good to go now.
So see, that was your first problem. Number one, you're using a Chromebook for this show. Secondly, you use your wife's Chromebook. I bet it's full of like baking recipes and how to kill your husband. But
Well, this ain't gonna be.
New episode of Snap coming soon on Oxygen.
Well, it ain't gonna be like this for 2 months longer because once we get some money, I'm gonna go out and get me a new touchscreen laptop.
There you go.
Start that OnlyFans. You'll make it in a few days.
Screw you for that.
Sorry about going off the rails, guys. Let's get into some Major League Baseball news, and there was some big news. Blue Jays have finalized a new 1 year $15 million to $15.5 million deal with Max Scherzer.
Interesting.
Yep.
Let's see, I think this is what his fourth or fifth different team, I believe.
Yeah, you're about right.
Let's see, he's played for the Tigers, he's played for the Nationals, the Astros. Didn't he play for the Mets?
Did he? I'll have to look that up. Hey, I went on MLB.com, and this is like at the top headline. Let's see here. According to Wikipedia,
Arizona.
He's
Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This is his seventh team.
His seventh team. He's played for Arizona, Detroit, Washington, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Rangers.
Yep, exactly. I mean, 8-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, 3-time Cy Young. Come on. But yeah, that was some news that broke also, and the Red Sox and the Cardinals are discussing about a Nolan Arenado trade. That's in the report, so keep an eye out for that update. We'll have it on the next episode of our show if it comes down. Also, too, the Orioles have landed outfielder. Let's see, Ramon Laureano. Deals worth $4 million for the 2025 season. It also includes a club option for 2026, which is worth $6.5 million. So there's that. Let's see. Also, Tim Hill is going to be returning to the Yankees. The lefty reliever was able to reach a deal, 1 year, $2.85 million deal, and a club option for 2026 as well. So there is that, and that's pretty much the big news in the world of Oh wait, here we go. Randall Grichuk from the Diamond is going back to the Diamondbacks on a 1 year deal. Expected to be $2 million base salary with a mutual option for $5 million and $3 million buyout, plus $500K in incentives this year as well. But that's all I got in the world of the major leagues. Let's go ahead and move on to another sport, and that is, of course, the NBA. And boy, what a busy couple of days that Mr. Shams Charania had to deal with. And especially late at night, that Saturday, the Saturday of WrestleMania, he broke the ultimate news story. And that is that the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick.
And I remember when this news broke on Saturday during the Rumble, after the Rumble, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, whatever. This is not true because I first came across it on Twitter when Tree posted about it on Twitter, making a reference to this, and I'm like, please don't let this be true because this sounds just too crazy to be true. And then it came down because people were thinking that ESPN, their sources got hacked or whatever, because it just sounds too crazy to trade your star player in the NBA, Luka Doncic from a Dallas Mavericks team that went to the NBA Finals last year against the Boston Celtics. In the middle of the NBA season, Luka was dealt, and so was Anthony Davis to obviously the both teams involved in the major trade. And it's just crazy to think because Luka is 25 years old. And when you think about it, and Ezra, you were telling me about this earlier, that your buddy Jeff really broke this down when it comes to Luka, because as we all know, you, me, and Joey and Kevin have talked about before on this show, during the finals last year, Luka at times, no, not at times, a lot of the times was not defending. He was, every time he would be on the offensive side of the basketball, he would be going up the floor complaining to the officials and just throwing his weight around, literally and figuratively. And he was just complaining all the time. And that's where I think he was losing focus, on the court, because your team is in the finals. If you really think about it, the Mavericks shouldn't have been there because, they were kind of ahead of schedule as people were thinking, because they didn't have, a full team that's been together for years and years going to this, like the Celtics had last year in the last 3 to 5, 7 years, and it's crazy to think that this trade even happened.
Yeah, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I like to call a lose-lose scenario, because here is the main reason why. Both players, and yes, I said both players, as of this season, as of the beginning of the season, cannot stay healthy. We have not seen Luka Doncic since Christmas Day, and they're saying that he's going to be out at least until after the All-Star break coming up in a couple weeks. And Anthony Davis is nursing that injury of his own, and Lord knows when he's going to be back.
Yeah, it's that abdominal strain.
Yeah, so Lord knows when he's going to be back. But all in all, this is a lose-lose scenario, because I was talking to Steven on the phone the other day, and we were discussing this trade. And I was like, well, I wonder if it has something to do with how Luka and the Mavericks, or how Luka himself was dominated during the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics. Because if you look at it from a different perspective, then it's almost like the Celtics were getting inside Luka's head, almost throwing him off his game. And ever since then, ever since the beginning of the season, even when Luka has been on the floor for Dallas, he has not looked like the same Luka Doncic that we've seen the past couple years. So I wonder if the mind games from the NBA Finals are still swirling around in his head, trying to throw him off his game, and it's kind of stressing him out to the point where he's put on a little bit of weight.
Yeah, because at one point they said he was about 300, a little over 300 pounds.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, he's definitely put on some weight, man.
That's one report going around, Joey, was that Dallas was concerned about his conditioning, and that's one of the reasons why they accepted a trade for him.
Yeah, and another reason why I feel this is a lose-lose scenario is because you guys just mentioned it yourself, especially you, Steven. Luka does not know how to play defense. I mean, Luka can play offense like the best of them. But when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, he's either letting people get by him, or he's complaining to the officials, complaining to the coaches. Heck, I probably have even seen him complain to a fan or two on occasions.
Yeah, I mean, because like during the finals last year, there were times, especially in Game 3, when Derek White and Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were getting in his head, and they were just schooling him. Like, there were times where I said to myself, listening to these games on the Celtics radio network, going, just get the ball in the paint, because you can pound Luka into submission, and they did. Because
Exactly.
every time they would beat him, on the ball and off the ball, he was already 2 steps behind the offensive player, no matter who had control of the ball. And they were just
Exactly.
getting inside the lane. And then even worse, when Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford had the ball, it was over. I mean, just this Celtics team exposed Luka's weaknesses on the defensive end. And when you break this trade down, and like Ezra said to me before you came on, his buddy Jeff talked about this, who's a huge basketball fan. And Jeff said that when you analyze this, there is a reason why the Mavericks did what they did, because, his weight issues, his conditioning not being great, and just, you don't want to have a player who's going to be one-dimensional. You want a player who's a two-dimensional player, sometimes a three-dimensional player. And that's what Luka Doncic, unfortunately, is not. He's not an all-around guard. Like, he's a physical guard, scoring and stuff, but he's not a physical guard when it comes to on both sides of the ball, because every time he would get on the defensive end of the basketball, he was out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Exactly. And Luka, one of his main struggles ever since he came to the NBA is learning how to be consistent on the defensive side of the ball, because basketball is an offensive and a defensive type game. And if you want to nail playing both, then you got to learn how to be more consistent on the defensive side of the ball, just like you're consistent on the offensive side of the ball. It's called being a two-way player. And there are quite a few NBA stars that I can probably think of, if I had a few minutes, that would be considered two-way players, whether they be legends or current players. But there's also quite a handful of players that don't really know what the whole two-way system is all about, because they either excel on offense or defense.
Mm-hmm. And that's what made
Not
the Celtics
both.
so deadly last year, is they had about 4 to 5 guards or forwards, 4 to 5 players that were either guards or forwards or both, that could play multiple positions on the floor and really defend. And because that's what made the Celtics team so deadly last year, was their conditioning as athletes, taking care of themselves and going out there and just laying it out all there on the floor, going all in and not giving up on plays, even when you go on a run where the other team is scoring on you, just not giving in, not quitting. And that's where I think Luka got into his head, because every time Boston would go up on him, even no matter if it was on the road, at home, but even when it was on the road, Luka, he was unmatched. He did not know how to, outmatch the intensity. And that's the thing, because like Luka, there were times last year in the finals where I felt like they were leaving him out there too long and he was getting tired. Did you guys feel like that? Because I felt like there were times during probably game 3, maybe game 2, they were leaving him out there a little bit too long, because I know he is their star player, but that's why you still had Kyrie. Kyrie was still there, and he is still there, obviously, with the team. But the fact that Luka was out there for a lot of times and was not coming out the rest, because when you're out there on the floor for 40 45 minutes during each game, that will wear you down.
Sorry about that. I had a text from a family member, but it's all good. To me, when it comes to this trade, like my buddy Jeff said, there's a lot of variables you got to think of. Is that, yes, it was in a way a lose-lose, because you got 2 players who can't stay healthy. One in particular, Anthony Davis, was spent a ton of time on the bench because of various injuries.
He's missed 250 games.
And then you've got Luka, who's, like you said, has been out since Christmas, and we don't know when he's coming back. So And then not only that, his weight and conditioning could be a factor, an issue, and hopefully. And the worst part is, here's one thing: is that Luka actually the day before he got the call that he was getting traded, he had bought a brand new house in Dallas for $15 million.
That is insane.
Yeah, so crazy, crazy world we live in, folks, when it comes to these trades. But there's another big trade that happened that I want to get into, and that is, of course, we've been talking about De'Aaron Fox. Well, he's finally going somewhere. He's on the move in a 3-team trade with the San Antonio Spurs, the Kings themselves, and the Bulls. The Spurs will get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings will get Zach LaVine, CD Sissoko, 3 first-round picks, 2025 Charlotte, 2027 Spurs, and 2031 Minnesota, and 3 second-round picks, 2025 Chicago, 2028 Denver, 2020. They'll get their own 2028 pick back. The Kings will, and then the Bulls will get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter in their own 2025 pick via the San Antonio Spurs. Now, my opinion on this with Zach LaVine is that while he's had some good years in Chicago, his productivity has not been what it used to be, and I've noticed a little decline in him myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was one of the reasons why the Bulls were getting victories, and they, and all that, but it was going to be sooner or later that we've been talking for months, almost a year now, about Zach LaVine being on the trading block, and it finally happened. So it sucks to see him go, but it is what it is. Joey, you got any thoughts on that? Steven?
I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. Moving on from that. Oh, yeah, and also, too, the Philadelphia 76ers traded. Holding. Offense number 75. Taking our penalty. Okay. I think it's gone now.
Yep, it's good.
All right. Did you guys talk about the De'Aaron Fox trade too?
That's what we were. That's what.
Oh yeah. So as far as the Fox trade is concerned, I think that this was kind of an interesting move because we talked about it last week on the show because we were all speculating that where could Fox go, and I said Phoenix or Denver because of possible winning, teams, that could contend, for championships.
Well, what does the Fox say?
Of course.
Oh God, you had to do that. Put that little nugget in my ears, damn it.
Just like our good buddy Front Row had to put in Runaway by Slade 2.5 fucking years ago.
Yep.
So if you're watching this, Front Row, right there for you, buddy. Love you.
But yeah, now going to San Antonio, that is interesting because obviously we know the young big man and Victor Wembanyama is there, and he's one of the best big men and one of the best young big men that can play like a guard, like a forward. I mean, just a skill, linky kind of guy, just real skillful, and he's getting better and better. And when you add a Fox, when you add a Fox to the fold of the offense, obviously he was the leading offensive weapon in Sacramento for the last 4 years or so.
Fox in the henhouse. As soon as you said that, I was like, let's go.
Fox and the Hound. But this is a very interesting move by San Antonio, and I think it's a good move, and I think that this could, get players to want to come play, in San Antonio again, because you have a star big guy, you get one of the best young, forwards, combo players who can play guard forward, in the NBA. you add a guy like Fox to your team, and you already have Wembanyama on your team, then I think the sky's the limit. I think that this is a good move by San Antonio.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with this one because this one, believe it or not, actually does make a lot of sense. Because De'Aaron Fox, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's in the final year of his rookie contract
Yeah.
where he'll be able to either go back to Sacramento next season or stay with San Antonio. But I gotta say, what San Antonio is doing right now is pretty impressive. Yeah, they're still a few games below 500, but now they got a star player in De'Aaron Fox to team up with Chris Paul and, of course, Victor Wembanyama, and plus those other players that San Antonio has that are playing consistent basketball right now. So, honestly, I really like what San Antonio is doing right now. It almost makes me wonder if they can get another big guy to where we can have the old Spurs lineup that had Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, David Robinson. They pretty much just need they pretty much just need another big guy. And then boom, they got the old Spurs 2.0 almost. So I really like what they're doing so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Holding.
I think he's good again. Yep, he's good.
Let's talk about the Caleb Martin trade. Now, as Caleb Martin went to the Philadelphia 76ers, or went from the Philadelphia 76ers to the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas is sending Quentin Grimes and Philadelphia's 2025 second-round pick back to the Sixers.
And this is an interesting move by Dallas because getting a quality young player in Martin, who was one of the catalysts for Miami's run 2 years ago that sent Miami to the NBA Finals against the Denver Nuggets. He was one of the leading guys that was one of the most unsung heroes, along with Jimmy Butler, that led that Heat team on that magical run. And then obviously he left Miami and was with Dallas or with Philadelphia. Now he's with Dallas. And I think that this is kind of a nice, little moving piece, for the Mavericks to get somebody unlike Luka, who is more of a complete player. Now, he may not be the number one, scorer on the team, but again, that's why you have a guy like Kyrie who's there, and Anthony Davis when he gets back and he is healthy. That's the key. So the Mavericks have made some interesting moves, but I think it's a little too late to make a push to the NBA playoffs.
They honestly might make it to the NBA playoffs, but I don't see them going very far. I would probably say 5 or 6 games in the first round. That'll be it.
And speaking of the NBA, what's also interesting is how there was talks maybe that Adam Silver has considered in shortening the playoffs. And hey, I wouldn't mind that. Like shorten some of these series, like the first 2 rounds. Like maybe best of 3, best of 3, best of 5. Something like that. Just shorten some of these series to get them out of the way, and then the conference finals in the NBA Finals is a best of 7 series.
Yep.
That I can actually agree on, because if we can have the first 2 rounds be best of 5 games and then the final 2 be best of 7, that would be great.
Yeah, because back in the early 2000s, when the Lakers were dominating with Kobe and Shaq and the Spurs with Duncan and Parker and Ginobili, like some of those earlies, and then even early series, and even back in the 90s and 80s, it was for the longest time, it was best of 3, best of 5, or whatever like that. And then the conference finals and NBA finals were the best of 7 series, because it makes the more competitive, series matter. It makes, because obviously the conference finals matter. That's because that's the team who's going to the NBA finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to other news we have in the world of the NBA. Right here we have another trade, and that this one is right here. This one is Los Angeles Clippers traded PJ Tucker, Mo Bamba, and a future second round pick for in cash to the Utah Jazz for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills.
Patty Mills, the journeyman, who's always on the run, always on the move.
Yep.
He's been everywhere.
That's why he did. That's why he doesn't buy homes. He rents them because literally he can't stay in one spot because he could be in Brooklyn one day, next day he's in San Antonio, next day he's in Chicago, next day he's in Denver. Who knows?
Speaking of Chicago, Zach LaVine was traded.
That was part of that De'Aaron Fox trade.
Yep.
Yeah, I mentioned that. It sucks to see him go, but he's been on a trading block for months now, and we knew he was going to leave eventually. Other news that came about, DeJounte Murray suffered a season-ending torn Achilles. Yep.
That sucks.
They announced the 2025 East and West NBA All-Star reserves. For the East, it's Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Darius Garland, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Damian Lillard, and Tyler Hero. For the West, it's Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Jaren Jackson Jr., Alperen Sengun, Jalen Williams, and Wemby. Also, Monica Wright Rogers, two-time NBA champion, has been hired as the first general manager of the Toronto Tempo WNBA expansion team. She now joins the franchise after serving as the Phoenix Mercury's assistant general manager. Speaking of that, congratulations in order to both Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson, who both had their jerseys retired by their respective colleges this past week. Yep. Yeah, Iowa retired her number and her jersey up in the rafters for Caitlin, and also A'ja Wilson had her jersey retired as well. So definitely congratulations to both ladies on making history.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as the special 3-point shootout, people wanted Caitlin Clark to be a part of it. She told people she has said that she won't participate in the all special 3-point shootout in San Francisco, and wants her first 3-point contest to be at WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Can't blame her. She wants to dominate the world of the WNBA and prove her mark before she goes anywhere near possible NBA competition,
I do think down the line maybe she could face somebody like a Steph Curry in the 3-point shootout during the NBA All-Star weekend.
Easily.
Down the line. That will happen, I think.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think it's in the world. Let me go to NBA.com. Let me make sure that I have everything set here.
Because it's crazy, because when you really think about this, because this is the week of the NFL. This is the final week of the NFL. This is the Super Bowl. They're in New Orleans. Everybody's in New Orleans, the Big Easy, partying, drinking, listening to music, all that good stuff, partying down, in New Orleans and all of that. And then the NBA just throws the biggest haymaker across the sports world. And this Mavericks and Lakers trade comes down, and it's surreal that this even happened. And none of us had this on our bingo cards.
No. Here's some news if you're a Sixers fan. Joel Embiid will return tonight from this 15-game absence.
That's good for him and Philadelphia fans. And also tonight in the NBA, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Boston Celtics in a key matchup in the Eastern Conference.
Philly's currently taking on the Mavericks. They're up 36-31 at the end of the first quarter.
And
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say we got to mention we got to mention the NBA Celebrity All Star Game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's right. The rosters dropped today in the teams who who are going to be a part of it. So listen to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is your This is your Celebrity All Star Game rosters. It's going to be Team Bonds versus Team Rice. Team Bonds, of course, will be the legendary hitter Barry Bonds, with rapper 2 Chainz as his coach. Team Rice will be NFL San Francisco 49er legend Jerry Rice. And his name is Kabi Lame or Kabi Lame, whatever how you pronounce it. And the rosters are going to be insane here. For this, of course, on Team Bonds, you have streamer Kai Cenat. You have former NBA star Baron Davis. You have actors and actresses. You have Rome Flynn, Emmy Award-winning actor. You have Alicia Gray. You have Mickey Guyton, country music superstar. You've also got Tucker Halpern, Noah Kahan, Danny Ramirez, Masai Russell, Olympic gold medalist from the 2024 Olympic Games, Pablo Schreiber, and Dylan Wang. That's on Team Bonds. On Team Rice, you have Caleb Thornton, you have Oliver Stark, you have CMA award winner and Grammy award winner Shabuzi, of course known for Bar Song Tipsy and Good News. T.O. Terrell Owens, NFL legend, will be on this team. Shelby McEwen. Things are about to get fancy in this All-Star game because Walker Hayes is on here. Drewski, AP Dillon, Chris Brickley, NFL legend Matt Barnes, and the ultimate for us wrestling fans, San Jose's own Bailey.
That's going to be awesome.
Yep, Bailey will be a part of the Team Rice in the WWA All-Star Game. Usually there's one WWE representative. It's been The Miz before. This time it's going to be the hometown girl herself, the former Raw Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion, and future WWE Hall of Famer herself, Bailey. But that's enough right there for in the world of the NBA. You know what time it is. Let's get into the world of the NFL, which is going to dominate, of course, the rest of the show, obviously with Super Bowl 59 coming up this weekend. But first, we got to get into some other news and a couple of shocking announcements today. The first one being that legendary Green Bay Packers kicker Mason Crosby has announced his retirement.
Crosby, one of the greatest kickers of his generation. The guy, most of the time in his career, was automatic. He was clutch. He made a lot of key kicks during his tenure with the Green Bay Packers. And yes, Ezra, I know you are a Bears fan, but I know you respect players, that are great at what they do. And Crosby has been around, the NFL for a long time. Mostly it was with Green Bay, but truly one of the greatest kickers.
Yep, absolutely, man. Just an absolute force to be reckoned with there. Also, too, another major retirement. Micah Hyde. Oh, Joey.
Yeah, I was going back real quick to Mason Crosby. I think I want to clear things up a little bit for you, Ezra. You do respect players, but you also respect players that are not named Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah, Brett Favre I respect because he's a legend, Hall of Famer. Aaron Rodgers, I'll give him his due. He was one of the best players ever in the world of football. I mean, the guy's got the stats, championship to prove it, so I can't fault him as a player, as a human being. Fuck him. And supporting the Green Bay Packers, fuck him times two. Why? Because fuck them. That's why. But yeah, Mason Crosby definitely. And then also Micah Hyde announced his retirement as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize Micah Hyde had played as long as he did in the NFL. I was thinking he was only in his 7th or 8th year, but no, he's played 12 years.
That's crazy. Like like I said, I thought it was at least a 7-year career that this guy was having so far. But nah, did not know he was a 12-year veteran. I mean, just again, another great defensive player. I mean, no matter what team he played for, he was a critical piece to that team's, success, because he could flip the game with a tackle or interception.
Yeah, but his best days were when he was with the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's get into the other NFL news. And of course, the Raiders have a new offensive coordinator, and his name
Yes,
is
they
Chip
do.
Kelly.
Chip Kelly, the journeyman. Again, he's been around the NFL. He's been around college. No matter where he goes, he always boosts offenses. And going from being a part of the championship team, or I can't remember. Is it what team was it? Was he? I think wasn't he the offensive coordinator for Ohio State?
UCLA, wasn't it?
You see, okay, it was okay. For some reason, I thought he was the coordinator for Ohio State. But no matter where he coached as an offensive coordinator or coach, I mean, obviously he was the coach of Oregon. He coached the Philadelphia Eagles for a period of time, San Francisco. I mean, just he is an offensive genius, and the Raiders have been making some very interesting moves. Pete Carroll is head coach, and now you bring in Chip Kelly. I mean, and Pete Carroll, he's an all-around coach. He can coach defense and offense. He pays attention to both of those. Well, except for this one Super Bowl when he should have ran on the 1-yard line. That was 10 years ago. How fitting that's 10 years ago. But but Chip Kelly, I think it's a solid move by Vegas to bring him in.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Joey?
Oh, sorry, I had to step away for a minute. But
I was correct.
Yeah,
Chip
Kelly,
was Ohio State. Yep.
I'll admit, Chip Kelly is a good offensive-minded coach, but he doesn't need to go anything past offensive coordinator, because Chip Kelly as a head coach,
Yeah,
not the most successful.
Yeah, if he was just a coordinator, I think he would have been successful all around in the NFL. But him as a college coach when he was with Oregon, that's where he had success, and he thought that he could go to the NFL and coach in the big leagues. But as we all know, in the NFL, not all offensive-minded coaches can be all-around great head coaches as well. Because that's why some of these coaches need to stay in their lane and be an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. Because as we all know, a head coaching job, you got to be on both ends of the field and coaching both sides equally and paying attention to both ends of the football game.
Unless you're the Dallas Cowboys, then you just 100% fucked.
Oh, dear God. And I thought about that too, because look at the Dallas sports area. I mean, for the last 3 weeks, there have been interesting moves by the Cowboys for bad reasons, and the Mavericks now for I would say kind of a mixed bag. I mean, Anthony Davis, when he is healthy, he is a solid player, but Luka Doncic's not a good defender. That's why they got rid of him, because they don't want a guy who's not going to take care of himself and be committed to both sides of the basketball. And that's the thing about oh, dear God, I could go on and on about the Cowboys.
Well, funny, I actually brought that little segue in there because I've been reading various articles talking about the Mavericks-Lakers trade, and I know we're going back to the NBA for just a second, but
Yeah.
there is an NFL tie-in, I promise you. But
Oh,
I
boy.
was looking at the winners and losers from one of the articles in regards to that trade. And one of the winners they said was the Dallas Cowboys. And that's because they said that this trade for Dallas or in the Dallas metro area has now taken its toll on Dallas fans in the area, which makes people forget what a dipshit team Dallas is. And I'm like, damn. I was like, come on now. You're calling the Dallas Cowboys a winner because of this? Yeah, sure.
If you really think about it, like the Cowboys have had such the worst luck thanks to their idiot owner and president Jerry Jones of making some of the worst hirings in NFL history. And if we're talking about coordinators, he could have stepped in. Jerry could have stepped in and said to Chip Kelly at Ohio State, to come coach and to be the offensive coordinator for them because, he is a proper offensive coordinator. But no, Jerry has to go with the offensive coordinator who didn't even call a single play last year as their head coach for the upcoming season in September. And it's just like, that's the thing. And that's where the Raiders are getting things right by making necessary moves to try to make a push. And when you have Chip Kelly, yes, leaving Ohio State as their former offensive coordinator to go back to the NFL as the offensive coordinator, I think Chip Kelly knows where he is successful. And he's not going to be a head coach, I don't think, anymore. Just like, and we talked about this last week, that Cliff Kingsbury is coming back to the Commanders as their offensive coordinator next season. And that's where coordinators, if they truly know their worthiness on a football team, they stick and stay with that position, of coaching. Because like Todd Monken, the Baltimore's offensive coordinator, he's really good. And that also begs the question, because with these coordinators that either are staying as coordinators versus head coaches, I understand that Ben Johnson, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but I'll ask you guys this: as far as Ben Johnson goes as head coach for Chicago, can Ben Johnson lead this Bears team to a better overall offense and a better team? Because not only is he having to pay attention to not just the offensive end of the football, but he's also having to pay attention to the defensive side of the ball. And that's where Chicago can have some success and some non-success, because generally offensive coordinators turn to head coaches, predominantly the success rate is not that great.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I feel that Ben Johnson can really lead Chicago give Chicago the offensive firepower that they need to be competitive in the NFC North. But yeah, I mean, that defensive side of the ball, I mean, they got some good players and they got a halfway decent defensive coordinator to help call the plays. But I mean, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that Ben Johnson is going to elevate Caleb Williams' game for sure, as well as Swift, if he decides to stay around, as well as Keenan Allen and Roma Dunze. I mean, there's no doubt that Ben Johnson is definitely going to elevate that offensive game. And Ben Johnson, unlike Jerry Jones, is saying that Chicago is going to go all in as far as what to do via free agency. And maybe, just maybe, I would say they're about one or two defensive players away to have that elite level defense that they so desperately need.
Yeah,
And there is quite a few defensive free agents that are out there.
Yes,
so
there
whenever
is.
So whenever the new league year starts up around the middle of next month, tell you what, some contracts are going to be signed.
If I'm not mistaken, the league year starts on March the 12th.
March 12th, that is correct.
Yeah, because once we start getting around to the month of March, that's where we're going to start really breaking down the free agency side of the NFL, because that's where it gets very interesting. Because when you see these free agents on the market that are out there, that's when we start breaking down where could these guys go to their next team, or will they stay with their current team that they were on the last season? But we shall see, because like you said, Joey, there are some key defensive players out there on the market that could single-handedly change these football teams for a long time.
See, even the baby thinks Jerry Jones is a piece of shit. It's crying because it heard its name.
Well, I will say, speaking of key defensive players, let's zone in. Let's zone in on one in general who himself requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns on Monday. That, of course, being defensive end Myles Garrett.
Yeah, he posted a pretty lengthy statement stating that he wanted to be traded. He posted up on his social media in a graphic, and said how much he loves Cleveland, but he wants to go to a team that's going to be a possible contender.
Because I remember some of the words in his post saying the goal was to never go from Cleveland to Canton. The goal is for me to be a part of a team that can actually win a Super Bowl championship, because I want to be a Super Bowl champion.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Myles Garrett, I mean, one of the best pound-for-pound defenders in the NFL of all time. And he knows that his days in the National Football League, they're not going to be for a long time, because, when you're delivering these violent hits in the NFL, week after week and all of this type of stuff, I mean, that the clock in your head is ticking, when it comes to knowing that your days in the NFL are not going to be a long time, because when you're playing in a physical, violent sport, especially like Garrett, him being such a great player, he some of the Cleveland teams that he was on in the last 4 to 5 years, some of them were very solid teams, but they still could not get over the hump. And the closest that they got was 5 years ago or 4 years ago when they took on the Chiefs in the divisional round, and they were a couple of plays away from beating the Chiefs and going to the AFC Championship game. And Myles Garrett, he knows that he needs that trophy. He needs a ring. And if he wants to be considered one of the greatest players that, in the NFL, in his mind, he's thinking, and some of these players do think this, I need that championship right beside my name if I want to go to the Hall of Fame, if I want to be considered one of the best players, because that is what a lot of people these days compare, greatness in sports is how many championships you have, or do you have a championship next to your name? I mean, that goes across all the 4 North American sports in the major leagues of sports. So, and that also will beg the question, because once we get to the next league off season, will Cleveland listen to any trade offers to trade their best defensive player? Because if Myles Garrett goes to an NFL team that will contend, not only would that make their team one of the better teams in the NFL already on defense, but that will diminish Cleveland's defense, because he is their best player that has been on Cleveland the last several years, 6, 7, 8 years or so. I mean, my goodness. I mean, he brings intensity, he brings passion, and he is a very, very, very high octane player. And he brings a lot of energy on the field. And it will be interesting to see what happens in the next league offseason when it begins in March.
Exactly. I mean, Myles Garrett has been one of the biggest studs on defense that Cleveland has had. Well, technically since the night he got drafted number 1 overall back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Myles Garrett has just been that defensive monster that Cleveland has been lucky to have over the past 9 years. But Myles Garrett, he's either approaching 33 or he is 33, which means he's not getting any younger. So if there's a time that he really desperately wants to win a Super Bowl championship, that time needs to be now. And if I'm Cleveland, even though Cleveland has said that they're not going to be listening to any trade offers, this could very well lead to a scenario in which if Garrett is not traded by the time the trade deadline rolls around, then it's going to lead to holdouts, which is going to lead to fines, which is going to lead to suspensions, until eventually Cleveland would just have no choice but to trade him. So if I'm Cleveland, if I'm requesting a trade, even though I don't want to say goodbye to him, I would just go ahead and pull the trigger as soon as possible.
Now, here also begs the question: what if Cleveland does not give in his ultimatums? What if they say no, you're not going to be traded? Then what's going to happen?
Oh, that's a good question.
It is a good question because we have seen these athletes across the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and that have thrown their weight around saying, I want this, I want that. And 90% of the time, these players get what they want, because these players know what they're worth in their minds, and they're going to do whatever they can to make a little bit of extra money and to try to talk to other possible teams, to dealing, them to a better team, because Garrett knows that this Cleveland team is not a consistent franchise. Like there's Buffalo, there's Kansas City, there's Cincinnati, there's Baltimore that could use his services. There's teams in the NFC like Philadelphia, there's San Francisco, there's the Packers, there's, I hate to say it, Jerry, the Cowboys. Hello, you need star players to do good. I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to be good, you got to make moves. And that's the thing is, look at these other teams that are making moves to make their teams better. And Garrett knows that if he wants to be in a better spot, he knows he needs to be traded. And honestly, I don't blame him. In this case, I don't blame him because he is seeing the success that Kansas City has had in the last 5 to 6 years, going to their 5th Super Bowl in the last 5 to 6 years, and is on a quest to three-peat this Sunday against Philadelphia. These players, they pay attention. They know what's going on. I mean, how Philly's gotten better with Saquon Barkley this past season. I mean, how, Pittsburgh made some moves early on in the year, and just, you have to make moves if you want to be good. Baltimore making moves, Buffalo making moves. Houston making moves. There's a lot of contending teams, across the NFL, mainly in the AFC. So it will be interesting to see what happens with Garrett, because if I had to think, as far as where I think he could go, I think he would probably pick a team in the NFC. That's just my opinion. And we are waiting on Hijacker Mike to join us here in a few minutes to break down Super Bowl 59 coming up this weekend. It's going to be a very interesting game this Sunday between the Chiefs and the Eagles. And also to add, Kevin sent me in his score tonight, and we will be giving, obviously, our analysis and our predictions on this game taking place this weekend. It is really hard to believe that this Sunday it is the conclusion of another NFL season.
Yeah, and going back to Myles Garrett real quick, I know that Myles Garrett is a Texan, meaning that he's from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that Dallas could be considered a front runner to try to land Myles Garrett, but there's one little teensy tiny little problem there with that statement.
Oh, yeah?
And that is the fact that Myles Garrett is going to want a good hunk of change as far as a payday. And what is the one thing that Dallas does not have right now that is so desperately needed? The cap space. They do not have the cap space to sign Myles Garrett to a long-term deal with I think he wants something along the lines of 28 to 30 million. I mean, Dallas does not have that kind of cap space. So there is no way that Dallas will be able to afford him, much less trade for him.
Definitely not. Hey, guys, unfortunately I got to run out. My sister needs help with something at the house. Her husband is currently he had to switch shifts, so he had to work an evening shift. So, and my sister's still deal with her health issues and all that, so she needs some help back at home in Hebron, which is about 30 minutes away. So, Steven, I need you to close out the show tonight if you don't mind.
That's not a problem. And if you don't mind, what is your score for the Super Bowl?
Okay, my man, here we go. And this is gonna shock a lot of people. I'm picking the Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles in a close matchup, 28-26.
Ooh, interesting score.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting score.
And how that's gonna work out is they're gonna get a couple of touchdowns. The kicker's gonna miss a kick. Help even out the score a little bit, and then Philly's gonna score a touchdown with 3 minutes left, and they're gonna hold the Kansas City Chiefs down. That's just my opinion. So, all right, you guys. I will see you all next week. Everybody, sorry for the quick out, but I have some things to do. I will check out you all next week. Say hi to Hijacker for me. Everybody have a great week, and I will see you next time. Same time, same YouTube channel. Peace out. Steven?
All right, dude.
All right, later, guys.
All right. And getting on to the coverage of the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. This is going to be a very interesting game between the Chiefs and the Eagles because, yes, there are some key contributing factors to these two teams that are the same. And then there are other parts of these teams that are not the same. And as far as this game is concerned, I really think that where this game is going to come down to is you're going to see Philadelphia's defense is going to try to make a lot of key adjustments, in this game during the game and obviously before the game, because obviously, Joey, they have film on this Chiefs team from the previous time they met in the Super Bowl.
Yes, indeed they do. And if I'm Philadelphia, I hope that I have been watching that film because like we said time and time again on a sports show, despite all the success that Kansas City has had, every single NFL team has some sort of weakness. And it's going to be up to Philadelphia to try to exploit that weakness and try to expose that weakness.
It is because, and also as well, they're going to try to, I think, go after Travis Kelce, and minimize his damage because he didn't have a great game last time in the AFC Championship game, but he did have a great game against Houston. But I think that their defense is going to try to make some key critical plays in this game, to flip the game, because that's where Philadelphia really got beat bad in the last time these two teams face each other in the Super Bowl, because in that second half, Mahomes was 13 of 14, did not miss but one pass in that second half. And I think that we're also, to flip it as well, the Kansas City side of things, on their defensive side of the football, their number one thing they're going to be focusing on is Saquon Barkley. Because Saquon Barkley is Philadelphia's lightning rod on offense. That unbelievable speed that he has. He can break off one big run and take it to the house. Just like that. And it is absolutely amazing just how dynamite Barkley is as a player. And the Chiefs defense, I think that they're going to try to minimize as far as on their defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to try to stop Jalen Hurts and that tush push. because they're going to have to study, where possibly he's going to run the ball. Because if we remember in that Bills and Chiefs game last week, probably one of the most awful, and I think we forgot to mention this last week, but the Bills ran the ball 3 consecutive times to the left and got stuffed all 3 times. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now during our coverage of Super Bowl 59 as we preview and analyze the big game between the Chiefs and the Eagles, our brother from another mother, Smoking the Bay, the all-around enthusiastic guy of cigars and all things professional wrestling and sports. Hi, Jacker Mike. What's going on, brother?
What's going
What's
on,
up,
man?
guys? What's up, y'all? What you doing tonight?
Doing good. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Just sitting here smoking a cigar on a rainy day in non-sunny California.
Yeah, and Ezra had to dip out to attend some family matters right now, and he gave his score already. He's got the Eagles winning the game. But as far as breaking down this game, Hijack, and I'll turn things to you. As far as first on the defensive side of the ball for both teams, what are the two key what are some contributing factors for you for both the Chiefs and the Eagles that you'll be paying attention to in this game? Because clearly these two teams have met each other in the last 2 years, once in the regular season and once in the Super Bowl. And I brought up that the Eagles are going to have to pay attention to the Chiefs on both films. So how do they stop Mahomes? Because in that Super Bowl, like I brought up in 2023, during Super Bowl 57 in Arizona, Mahomes during that second half was 13 of 14. One incomplete pass in that game in the second half. And he was just on a roll, just throwing the ball to every receiver, just spreading the rock. And if you're really, what do you think they have to do to stop Mahomes? Because even though his offense is not what it used to be, but at the same time, I fear facing Mahomes and the Chiefs because at any given moment, Mahomes can break you with a play.
Yeah, you gotta check Mahomes down. Stare him in the eyes. Keep your eyes on his. Stare at him. Make him feel something. Make him feel you're reading his offense. You're going to have to double coverage Kelsey every now and then. Maybe a zone against him. Throw that extra linebacker on him with the safety to help cover. Stay away from a prevent. You don't need a prevent against Mahomes because Mahomes will eat that up with the play action pass and work to his running back and fullbacks on the sidelines. They can go man coverage because I don't think they don't have a Tyreek Hill type wide receiver on their squad just yet. They have decent receivers, but you don't want to go one-on-one, but they may have to play a little more man on the defensive side. The main thing is keep your eye on Mahomes. I don't see Mahomes running that much in this game, but I see him scanning across the field like he normally does. So it's up to the defense of the Eagles to make sure they keep their eye on him, and they may have to play a little more man-to-man defense and coverage and then throw that extra linebacker every now and then on Kelsey. But you just go with your basic 4-3, throw your diamond nickel Ds in there when you need to, but I think it's going to be more of a man coverage, man-to-man, or a specific zone against him and cover your 5, 10, and 15-yard ranges. Keep them under 5 yards a play. I know that can drive down the field in 15 plays. You can get 75 yards and take 9 minutes off the clock. But I like the man-to-man coverage. I'm a little bit of old school Al Davis when it comes to that. So man-to-man coverage may be your best. Throw your safeties over the top to cover deep threats. But my main concern in this game is watching Kelsey. You got to keep an eye on him because he will get open and break free for those 15-plus yard gains, and Philly's got to watch out for that. So I see a more of a coverage zone and a man-to-man defense from Philly.
Interesting. And what are your thoughts as far as the Chiefs go? Because like I talked about, the one key piece of this Philadelphia offense is Saquon Barkley. He is the one, true piece to this team that is not the same. This is not Swift. This is not Swift. This is not Miles Sanders. This is a home run hitter. This is a true dynamite running back. He can have a 3-yard run, and then in the blink of an eye, 70-yard run to the house, touchdown.
So
What is it? Go ahead.
No, just to help with that, Kansas City's going to have to keep 6 in the box most of the time. It's going to suck because that's going to force them to go man coverage on everybody else, but they're going to have to go 6 in the box and take out the holes. Saquon Barkley is good at hitting his holes. His offensive line creates holes for him, and he hits them. He knows how to grab them quickly. They also got to watch out for Jalen Hurts because he'll take off on you as well. So you got two running threats in that backfield. But if you can keep 6 in the box, I think they're going to be okay and they can stuff that run from them. But then you got to be careful because they can fake them out, you know. I don't think they're going to run any old Statue of Liberty play where they fake the handoff and drop back for the pass kind of thing, or a flea flicker.
Right.
But the only way to contain Saquon Barkley from running is patch those holes. Don't give him the gap between the tackle and the guard to come through and get 6, 7, 8 yards a gain. And the next thing you know, he's down the field for a 40-yard gain. You got to cover the holes and take him out and make him run to the outside, force him to the outside, break him down, let him lose a little bit of stamina, and then wear him down. So in the second half, he is not fresh on his feet. You're going to force him to go to their backups, which is fine. But my concern is for Kansas City is stay man-to-man. I know it sounds cliche, and same thing with, Philly on Kansas City and double up on Kelsey, but stay man-to-man and stop the run, because I have a feeling Philly's going to run the ball more with Barkley and Hurts in that backfield, which they're both threats, and they both can run for 100-plus yards in any given game. So I see Kansas City needing to stay man-to-man and stuffing the run with 6 in the box and clogging any holes that may be able to come open.
Very interesting. And also, when it comes to this Philadelphia team, what also makes them dangerous, it's those wide receivers and that tight end. When you got Devontae Smith and you got A.J. Brown and you got Dallas Goedert, those 3 guys can make big-time plays. And
Yes.
Goedert, Brown, and Smith did that in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs 2 years ago. And I think that was the one key piece that's why Philadelphia didn't win, was because of the lack of the running back. Because Jalen Hurts now doesn't really have to worry about running like he did, because in that game, he led Philadelphia in all yards, passing, running yards, total yards in the game. He outplayed Mahomes because of the total yardage of, in the game. He doesn't have to worry about that now because he's got a guy to hand the ball off and watch him run into the end zone.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you break this down and analyze this, because I think Saquon Barkley, if Philadelphia wins this game and wins their second Lombardi trophy, Barkley is the reason. He is the missing weapon that can lead this Eagles team to their second Super Bowl. But
Very
it's not
true.
going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for both of these teams.
Barkley can hit the holes swiftly. He has a very keen sense of sight when he's behind his offensive line. And when they give him that crack of daylight where he can see sunlight, he's gone. And that's one thing Kansas City's got to be careful. You can't be caught slipping with a blitz and you leave one little split hole open and he powers through it. And once he gets into that secondary, it's a foot race with him and the safeties. And when he's already at full speed, it's going to be tough for those safeties to turn around and try to catch him from the behind.
Now, I'll ask you this, Joey, when it comes to when we think about this game and how it could play out, when it comes to the way that Barkley, we know Barkley is going to get his numbers. We know that because Barkley did not have hardly any games this past season with Philadelphia where he had under 100 yards. He didn't really have that many games this year where he didn't have a great game. What I'm getting at here is with this analyzing of this game, if Barkley gets his numbers, can Kansas City still win this game if you minimize the damage on the passing game? Because that, to me, is the key, analyzation of this game, because if both the running and receiving game is going, it's going to be tough for Kansas City to win this game. Oh, his connection is going in and out, in and out.
Yeah, something's up with your audio, Joseph.
Oh, I think it.
Maybe the refs got you.
Did they pay out? Did they pay it off?
You're wearing red like Kansas City, so maybe the refs got you, man.
Oh yeah, it's ooh. Maybe it's
You
that
may have
Chrome.
to-
Maybe it's that Chromebook.
You may have to log out and log back in.
You may have to come back in, and we'll know if you come back in and tell if you sound better. Come back in. But yeah, asking you that question, Hijacker, can Philadelphia or can Kansas City, excuse me, minimize the damage, of the receiving game if Barkley can they still win this game if Barkley goes off and the receivers don't have a great game?
It's going to be tough because they will. Mahomes, when he gets knocked off his game, he gets flustered and he can be off his game and they won't move the ball. But if Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts are both on and at least one wide receiver on that O-line is on, they're going to have a very easy time running through this Kansas City defense and having a field day.
All right, there. I think he's back. Speak down, Joey. Oh no! Yeah, dude. Unfortunately, it's doing the same thing. Try switching to the. Try switching to the. Try switch. Oh, speak now. I think you're good.
Okay, yeah, I just went ahead.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I just went ahead and unplugged it. It was giving me a lot of problems anyway.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Go ahead. Going back to the question that you asked, Steven, that is definitely a huge.
Oh, go ahead.
What? I was going to say, that is definitely a huge key because Saquon Barkley, he's going to get his numbers. He's going to get his touches. But the X factor, in my opinion, in this game is going to be the way that Jalen Hurts plays. Because I'm not going to lie here, Jalen Hurts, to me, I mean, he's got the big game experience because, he, of course, quarterbacked the Eagles to the Super Bowl appearance a couple years ago against Kansas City. But now Jalen Hurts has targets all around him, from A.J. Brown to the Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith to Dallas Goedert, and not to mention that Eagles offensive line that has done such a good job protecting him week in and week out, month in and month out. So with that being said, Jalen Hurts, he may not be seen as an X factor in this game by most people, but he's my X factor because he's going to have to be on top of his game. He's going to have to be Tom Brady in the Super Bowl if he wants to lead the Eagles to a monumental upset over the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion.
Yeah, because that right there to me is the key part about this game is just thinking about what Philadelphia has versus what Kansas City has. And Philadelphia on paper has the overall stats that are better than Kansas City. But the one thing that Philly does not have is Patrick Mahomes. Because Patrick Mahomes has already proven that he has no pressure on him because he has gone through it all. He's won Super Bowls. He's lost a Super Bowl. And he stares adversity in his face. And a lot of the times it does not faze him. And it will be interesting to see what happens in this game because the one thing that also scares me about this game, even if Philadelphia outplays Kansas City and Kansas City is still within striking distance, Mahomes can still beat you.
Yeah, look what he did the other week when they were down. He drove them down with less than 3 minutes to go and scored. They took the lead back.
And Buffalo outplayed Kansas City in that game when it comes to yardage, and they still lost the game.
Yeah, it's
So
insane. I see Philadelphia trying to get back because they lost the Super Bowl against Kansas City a few years back, and I think they know what they need to do to get over the hump. Yeah, this is a different team, different year. Like I said, I have a little faith in Philadelphia. Yeah, I'd like to see a three-peat, but not with Kansas City.
it's very interesting when you think about this game because on paper, I know people were pissed off because, oh, it's the Eagles and the Chiefs again in the Super Bowl. It's the same two teams from a couple of years ago. Yeah, on paper, yes, with the two teams it is, but at the same time, it's not. Because again, Barkley on Philadelphia, you got DeAndre Hopkins on Kansas City, you got Hollywood Brown there in Kansas City. Kareem Hunt is back with Kansas City, seeking his first Super Bowl with the team. And that's what and that's another thing that really is amazing about Kansas City is when you think about their championship pedigree, even after they won last year against San Francisco, Mahomes looked at Kelsey and said, nobody has three-peated in the NFL. Let's be the first team to do it. And that is the one thing that is on the line because not only has the Chiefs broken that barrier of going to a third Super Bowl in a row that nobody has never done before. They, as far as winning teams, no winning team in back-to-back Super Bowls has never been to a third consecutive game. San Francisco had that golden opportunity 35, 36 years ago when they faced the Giants in the NFC Championship game, but they lost that game when Montana was knocked out by Lawrence Taylor. And fast forward now 30 some odd years later, Kansas City has done something that no other team in National Football League history has ever done. To be a team that is back-to-back defending champions and is on the precipice of history. To be 48 minutes away, or excuse me, 60 minutes away. To be 60 minutes away from being the first team in NFL history to three-peat. If that happens, I can promise you, I can swear to you, on February 4th, 2025, in our lifetimes, that will never, ever happen again. I truly believe that. If Kansas City wins this Super Bowl, a team three-peating, that will probably never happen again.
Yeah, very
Because
true.
it is hard to win in this league. And I know people want to bitch about the officials, and I get it. I've done it myself as well. But at the end of the day, take out the referees. Respect what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Andy Reid has broken the curse of not winning in the big game. Unlike most coaches that have never won a Super Bowl, that are great, Andy Reid has won 3 of these Lombardi trophies. Automatically, he was going into the Hall of Fame because of his coaching resume. The fact that he has 3 championships with Patrick Mahomes and could be getting his 4th championship in 6 years, that is amazing because all Patrick Mahomes knows is winning, being successful. And if he wins this 4th Lombardi trophy, he is already, think about this, guys. He's not even 30. He's 29. He will be 30 later on this year. The fact that if he wins his 4th Lombardi trophy, he will pass Tom Brady as the quickest person, if I'm not mistaken, the quickest player to reach 4 Super Bowls as the starting quarterback. If I'm not mistaken, I would have to do some serious research to go and look at the age gaps of Terry Bradshaw, of Montana, because I know Brady at 37 won his 4th Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I want to say Montana was in his late 30s when he won his fourth Super Bowl championship. Would have to do some serious nerdiness, and do some research, to pull up those stats. But that would be crazy to sit here next week if the Chiefs win this Super Bowl for the fourth time in 6 years. To say at 29 years of age, Patrick Mahomes winning his fourth Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's crazy because what year did Montana come in? 79 or 80? I think it was 79 when he came in, right?
79.
Yeah, and then he played, and a quick note off on the side about Lawrence Taylor. He has been a part of some odd wrong side of history plays with Joe Theismann and Montana, because when he knocked out Montana was never the same. And what did San Francisco do? They gave him up for Steve Young.
Mm-hmm.
So if Montana never got hurt that day, it's hard to say what San Francisco would have did going to the third Super Bowl in a row and possibly going for the first three-peat ever. Nobody's ever done it. Kansas City has the biggest chance to do it this coming Sunday. So it is something the world probably wants to see. And then there's a lot of people that don't want to see it because they're hating on Kansas City because Kansas City. Me being a former Raider fan, I don't want to see Kansas City do it. But then again, I don't have that crazy hate for Kansas City like I used to when I was a diehard Oakland Raider fan. Oakland. What?
But I actually went ahead and did the research for you, Steven. Terry Bradshaw was 32 years old when he won his fourth Super Bowl, and Joe Montana was 33.
Well, there you go.
Well, Mahomes has a chance to knock that down and then win another one or two, possibly three, by the time he hits 32, 33 years of age himself.
Because think about this. If he wins his fourth championship this Sunday, he's already right at Brady's level when it comes to winning.
And he still has another 8-9 years, maybe longer, left on his timeline. He may play into his 40s like Brady did himself.
And like Favre.
Yeah.
And like Manning.
The only thing is himself. Does he feel like he wants to play past a certain age? Does he want to play into his 40s? Because if he plays comfortably up until he's 40, he has a chance to win another 3 to 5, possibly more Super Bowls if they keep that team in check. But that's the problem. As players leave and players retire, how do you replace them? Look at my Golden State Warriors. Look at how they're struggling this year. They started off really good. Look at the squads they had. Even in 22 when they won, it was one of those things where they were really bad at the beginning of the year, but they gelled later on. I don't know if the team's going to be able to do that this year. They're talking trades of a few key players to get some pieces to try to make that last-ditch run here after the All-Star break and trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But it all comes down for Kansas City in the future. You got to draft right, especially when you're low in the draft around 29, 30 and all that. But you can make key trades, key acquisitions and free agency, but you got to keep key players there when key players leave and retire, because not everybody's going to hang with Mahomes through this run that he's going to be there. And he's going to stay with Kansas City his whole life. There ain't no going nowhere. He's a cheap guy.
No way. And now the one guy that may stick around for a little while is Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy is the star rookie wide receiver that Buffalo could have picked, but they traded the pick to Kansas City and they burned him again.
Yeah.
And that is the damningest thing that I think about all the time with the Chiefs' success is Mahomes has had so much success with different receivers. He won one Super Bowl with that team full of speed and Watkins and Hill and Robinson and Hardman, and Kelsey. That was the only one Super Bowl that he won with those guys. Everybody else has either been key star role players or he's making quality role players look great.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing, Mahomes, as good as he is, he has the ability to hit 7-8 receivers, his running backs, his fullbacks, his wide receiver, his tight ends. He has the capability to throw to 7-8 different players on the field for the game. And who does that? Usually a quarterback only hits 4 to 5 guys on the field through the whole game. He has the ability to hit everybody that's able to come in and legally catch the ball down the field.
Exactly. Now, as far as switching back to Philadelphia is concerned, when it comes to looking at this game, and Joey, you brought up a great point because Jalen Hurts, you've been questioning, and I've been questioning myself about his play because he hasn't been consistent. And if he is not consistent this Sunday, can the offensive line hold up in the passing attack? Because let's play devil's advocate real quick. If the Chiefs can stop Saquon Barkley and minimize his damage, that means if the Chiefs get up on Philadelphia early on in this game, they're going to have to minimize the running game because let's say they're down 14, 17 points, they're screwed. You're going to have to throw the ball. You can't just run the ball. I mean, unless you capitalize and get a quick score. But you're going to have to stop Mahomes. You're going to have to stop this team. And that's my biggest concern with Philadelphia heading into this game is I don't give a damn if Mahomes is down 7 to 10 points. Mahomes is gonna find a way to dig out of it if he's still got life in the game. And that's my biggest concern is Philadelphia has not faced their biggest test, really all year long. And that's what makes these Super Bowls really compelling is usually it's matchups that you don't see very often. And when you look at this Philadelphia team, they have had success predominantly because they have gotten up on their opponents. They haven't had to face that much adversity. Their road to the Super Bowl was, let's be honest, was kind of easy, getting there. Now you've gotten there, but can you capitalize? Because if you are faced with adversity, can you dig out of a hole? Because if Jalen Hurts is down 10, 14, 20 points, he's going to have to start throwing the ball early on in the game, or even later in the game if they're still down double digits because you're not within striking distance yet. And my question to you, Joey, is if the Eagles find themselves in a spot where they are trailing pretty big, not blowout territory just yet, but even if it does kind of become a blowout and there's still a slim hope in the game for them, can he possibly dig them out of this adversity?
Did Joey hear you?
I think he did. Joey, can you hear
He's
us?
on mute right now. He's on mute right now. There he
Yeah,
goes.
I did.
Okay.
But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting ball game. I mean, is it the ball game that I really wanted to see? No, not really. But this is still going to be a very entertaining game because this Super Bowl could go either way.
Do you think that if Hurts gets down big, can he come back and lead this team to possibly a victory or getting back in the game? Because like I said, I have not witnessed this Eagles team face adversity really all year long with Barkley because that's why they've had so much success because of him getting up on teams.
Yeah, I mean, if Kansas City jumps on Philadelphia early and knocks Jalen Hurts off his passing game as well as his run game, then that's pretty much going to doom the Philadelphia offense, which is why I said, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts is the X factor in this game because we all know Saquon's going to get his touches regardless of what happens in the game. But it's going to depend on the play of Jalen Hurts that will determine if Philadelphia will be able to correct their mistakes from a couple years ago and actually pull off this victory. I mean, Jalen Hurts, he has the playmakers around him.
Yeah.
But he's going to have to get it to those playmakers as well as use his legs whenever he cannot find an open receiver to get as much yards as possible. Because, believe it or not, Kansas City, their defense really hasn't been the best this year.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. They've won 11 one possession games this year.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, that was a lot. But it's in those one possession games that they could have easily, just as easily, gone the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Just as easily.
If you don't mind me stepping in here real quick with you, Joseph. If you don't mind me stepping in real quick with you here.
Oh, no, go ahead.
My thing is this, real quick. Mahomes has the ability to come back from being down in a hole or making early mistakes. I don't think Jalen Hurts has that. I think Jalen Hurts can be flustered a little bit quicker and it affect him throughout the game because I don't think he has that strong ability, especially like Mahomes, to come back if he makes a mistake, throw a pick, a fumble, a ton of 3 and outs or a couple of first downs, and then you're punting the ball or attempting long distant field goals.
That's a great point, Mike. Because real quick to add on to your point, Mike. Before you continue, when it comes to that Super Bowl that Mahomes did in his first Super Bowl, because clearly he was flustered, the jitters were out, he was nervous as all hell, and he didn't know what hit him. Because when you're on the biggest and brightest lights in sports, no matter if it's the World Series, if it's the NBA Finals, if it's the Super Bowl. If it's the Daytona 500, if it's the Stanley Cup Finals, you are nervous in your first championship game or series. And Mahomes was clearly rattled in that game because he threw a couple of picks in that game. He was down 10 points in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go, trailing 20-10. And in the blink of an eye, Kansas City scored 21 points just like that.
Yeah, that is very true. And Hijacker, I definitely agree with that statement because, if we really want to see Mahomes be so calm, cool, and collected in the clutch, all I have to say is 2 little words: 13 seconds.
Mm-hmm. That is the scariest thing. 13 seconds.
13 seconds.
What is Mahomes? 4-1 in the Super Bowl?
4-1, yes. The only loss was to Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Gotcha. Yeah, see that experience right there. 5 Super Bowls to what? Jalen Hurts' 1 opportunity. He made it once, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he did make it once.
Or he's 3-1. He's 3-1 because he's won 3, he's lost 1.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Mahomes has won 3 and lost 1.
Okay, 3-1. Okay. Well, still, that's good numbers from a young quarterback that hasn't even hit 30. 4 Super Bowls before you reach 30, and 3. No, you say 3-1. Okay, so this is his 5th Super Bowl.
5th Super Bowl. Yeah.
And see, and quite honestly, Mahomes in the playoffs, he kind of reminds me of another version of Eli Manning because if you guys were to think back to all the times that Eli led the Giants to the playoffs, it's almost like Eli Manning always stepped it up to another gear. And that's how he was able to be.
That's a good point, Joey, because
that's why he was able to be so successful in the playoffs. He is probably the only person that has beaten Tom Brady twice in his Super Bowl.
He is the only player that has beaten him twice.
So Mahomes definitely reminds me of another version of Eli Manning.
That's a great analogy right there because Mahomes, when he is in the playoffs, it's like he is possessed by the spotlight now. It's like he's not even fearful of being in the spotlight, being in the brightest lights of the game. Because Mahomes, no matter who his players are, he will find a way to make you greater, than you were. And that is also the scariest thing because Travis Kelce is in that same spotlight that Rob Gronkowski has been when he was in the NFL his last couple of years. Because even in the last time he won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, Gronkowski did not put up those monster numbers in the regular season in 2020-21. But in that Super Bowl against Kansas City, Gronkowski put up Gronk-like numbers because good Gronk Almighty, he scored 2-3 touchdowns in that game against the Chiefs. And that right there is the scariest thing with Travis Kelce, because even though he didn't have his best season statistically, but where he can break you is in the big games, because he had a monster game with the Texans, didn't have a great game with the Bills, but that's all right. because he is in the Super Bowl. And if he has a monster game, I don't care who Philadelphia throws at him. It is going to be a long night if Mahomes and Kelsey get it going early.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and wrap it up, guys, because I got to get ready to jump here in a minute. But I do see Kansas City winning this game, but in my heart, I see Philadelphia winning a barn burner, or not a barn burner, but a tight game, 24-23. I have a feeling Kansas City is going to miss a PAT somewhere, and it's going to force them to be down by one and try to get the ball back and do it. But I see Philly winning this 24-23.
Really?
Yes, even though I feel Kansas City's going to take this game, but I'm rolling with Philadelphia because I want to see Jalen Hurts get a ring because I don't know how many more opportunities he's going to get with Mahomes on the opposite side of the field playing against him. But now, Steven, check this out. If Philadelphia wins this Super Bowl, I will personally fly out to North Carolina and hook you up with the Mark Davis special haircut.
Oh no!
Hey, Steven, look at the bright side. At least you won't be called a Dave Grohl lookalike anymore.
Oh dear God!
had to get a little fun in there before I take off. But guys, I gotta roll.
Great job, dude. Yep.
But no, you guys know where to catch me, man. Instagram, Hightacker Mike, Twitter, Mr. Mac. And then if you are cigar aficionados like myself and a handful of us in the Busted Open Nation, Smoke in the Bay Cigar Review.
And that channel's doing great, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm trying to make it fire and help people out and get what they want, get what they need, man. So I'm putting content out a couple times a week. Check it out. Just released a video today from Plasencia Cigars, 149 Cochensa. So you guys go ahead and check it out. Let me know what you think and holla at me, man. I'll try to get on.
Take it easy, brother.
Sweet.
All right, High Jacket, take it easy, man.
All right, brothers. Have a good rest of the show, and I'll catch up with you.
Yep. All right, I think we've done enough analyzing of this game because we've beaten it, around on both teams. With that being said, let's get to the scores for us and Kevin's score. First,
hang on. I do want to throw something out to you, Steven, real quick. I just took a look on ESPN app, and believe it or not, Boston is on top of Cleveland right now at halftime, 54-44.
Interesting.
On to the scores. So go ahead and read off Kevin's score first.
Kevin has two things here. He has got the Chiefs winning 30-25. And then he says jokingly, refs win MVP on a key pass interference call to win the game. Then he says, not joking, Mahomes wins MVP.
That's funny because they did a video of the Kansas City Chiefs warming up, and I'm like, and I was looking at the video, and I was like, why aren't the refs with them?
Oh God, this game is so tough to pick.
Yeah, this game is very, very tough. My heart is telling me to pick the Eagles. My gut is telling me to pick the Chiefs. Sometimes in life, you have to take risks. And in this instance, I'm not going with my gut this time. I'm picking Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia, they know the mistakes that they made when they played the Chiefs a couple years ago, and I think that Philly is going to learn from those mistakes, and they're going to give Kansas City everything that they possibly can handle. I don't think it's going to be as high of a score as the last time, because I believe that final score was 38-35, if I'm not mistaken.
You would be correct.
So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be that high scoring, but I do think it's going to be somewhere along those lines, just a little bit below. But, you know what? I am taking the Philadelphia Eagles, and here's what I think is going to happen. Philly's going to be up 28-21. Mahomes is going to get the ball with less than a minute left in the game. He's going to guide Kansas City on a drive that's going to lead to a touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. It's tied up at 28. And I'm going to say there's going to be like 20 seconds left on the clock. I think the Eagles are going to take the kickoff, and then Jalen Hurts is going to come out and fire at least one, maybe two completions out of bounds to either A.J. Brown, Devontae Green, Dallas Goedert, or a mixture of the three. And then that's going to put them in field goal range. And I think it is going to be Jake Elliott that makes the kick of his life. A game-winning, Super Bowl championship-winning field goal by Jake Elliott just as time expires. Philadelphia walks out of the Caesars Superdome as Super Bowl champions, 31-28.
You know what's also fitting about this game? We are also at the spread where we were at last year so far. Right now, it's a 1.5 spread. And I'm sorry, if I was a betting man, I am taking the over. Because this is a easy pick the over. No matter who you're picking, it doesn't matter if it's Philly or Kansas City. You take the bet. You take the over. That's what you would bet, in my opinion, when you're analyzing this. And like you said, Joey, I don't think it's going to be that high of a score compared to last year. God, this game is so hard to call because, again, and it's like Kevin said with the referees. The referees always find a way to make these critical plays or calls to change the game. And unfortunately, I think the referees are going to do what they just did last week. I think the referees are going to, and I think the referees are going to find a way to make another call like they did in the last Super Bowl that's going to screw this game up. I think that it's going to be a great game. I think both teams are going to be highly competitive. But unfortunately, I got to pick the Chiefs. Because as long as Mahomes, and I said it before, as long as Mahomes is quarterbacking the Chiefs, how can you bet against the guy? He is an incredible talent. And everybody hates greatness. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird, Joe Montana, you name it. Derek Jeter. And you could go across all Wayne Gretzky, go across all the greatest players across all sports. Tiger Woods. And again, our condolences go to Tiger Woods and his family for the loss of his father yesterday. But when you look across, the greatness in sports, we have seen that across when it comes to sports. We've seen fans that hate greatness because everybody likes a good underdog story. But there's really no underdog story in this. This is two juggernaut teams that have punched their ticket to the Super Bowl. And this is a heavyweight matchup. And if it wasn't Detroit, I thought it was going to be Philadelphia coming out of the NFC because how they were playing. But I got to go with the Chiefs, unfortunately. I am going to go with the Chiefs to win by a final score of 27-23 on a game-sealing fourth down stop. Philly's going to have and this is my scenario in this game. I have the Chiefs are going to be up 27-16. Philadelphia's going to score, get back in the game, and they get a stop to get the ball. Philly gets the ball. Barkley is Barkley's going to get the ball. Fourth down. Fourth and goal from the 2. Because this is how or hell, it could be from the 3 or the 4-yard line. I don't care. Because that's how good Barkley is. Barkley can take a 4th and goal handoff and go into the end zone if the blocking's correct. My scenario is Eagles are on the Chiefs side of the field. It's the final few seconds of regulation. It's not before the clock's going to expire. I think the Chiefs are going to be on defense. Philly's driving. They're trying to punch the ball in the end zone. Barkley gets the ball. He's about to hit the goal line, and he gets tackled. Why? Because fuck you. That's why. That's why. Because the NFL, as we all know, wants what they want. And they have what they want. The NFL wants, they've been talking about the Chiefs repeating, analysts have been talking about the Chiefs. They want the Chiefs to three-peat, the Chiefs three dynasty, all this different stuff. The NFL usually gets what they want. But it's up to Philadelphia to crush those narratives and to flip the script. It's up to you, Eagles. Do you cave in to the NFL's wants and needs? Or do you flip the script? So, again, this game could go either way. Like you said, Joey, like we've analyzed, we've beaten this game for 50-plus minutes. For the last nearly hour, talking about this game. This game could go either way. Could go either way. And it will be interesting to see how this game goes. And want to thank Ezra for giving his score, and thank Hijacker for joining us here tonight, and thanks to Kevin for sending in his score tonight. It's been a lot of fun breaking down this game, breaking this game down from both ends of the side of the football, and we shall see what happens. And I think as far as the rest of the show is concerned, Joe, you got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up? Or are you good to go?
I think I'm good.
Think I'm good as well. Final thoughts?
Once again, great show with you guys. It was awesome having Hijacker in here. Hate that Ezra had to leave early, but hey, family is always more important than anything else. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much got no other final thoughts other than enjoy the sports the rest of the week. And if you're going to be watching the Super Bowl on Sunday, enjoy it. Because this is going to be the last NFL football game until the dog days of August.
And not just that, but if you're gambling, please gamble responsibly.
Yes, do not do anything stupid.
You're gonna bet on the over, the under. That's pretty simple. And then pick the team. That way you're not, betting on all these unnecessary stupid stuff.
Oh, and I do want to point out something real quick. I do know some fan bases tend to get a little overhyped whenever their team wins a big game, and I don't know if there's any Philadelphia fans watching, but if there are by chance, like actual Philadelphia fans, not just for Sunday, but if there are any actual Philadelphia fans watching, please do not climb any poles to try to celebrate.
Not just that, but Joey, not to be that guy, but we know win or lose, Philadelphia is destroying the city. Wait, they're going to go crazy.
Yeah, big time. But what I was referring to is there was an unfortunate passing of an 18-year-old college freshman from Temple University who fell 40 feet, I think it was, after climbing the pole in downtown Philly.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, condolences go out to his family, of course. But, yeah, he was an 18-year-old freshman. I cannot remember his name, though.
Was that when they won the Super Bowl?
That was when they won the NFC Championship against my
Championship
Commanders.
game. Okay. Damn. That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean,
I did not know about that. I did not even read about that. That sucks.
but yes, if you are going to be watching the Super Bowl, which I'm sure a lot of us will be, then enjoy the game and go Eagles.
Don't do anything stupid.
Just for Sunday though.
Cannot believe that some Philadelphia fans would even dare do that. Please don't do that. Please, just be responsible. But knowing Philadelphia fans, if they lose this game, they're going to destroy the city. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in tonight to another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Thank you to Mongrovian Mike for joining here in the chat, my brother. And to everybody that watches this on demand, thank you very much as well. Want to thank Ezra Vickery for joining us here tonight. Unfortunately, he had to leave due to a family emergency that he had to attend. And thank you for him for tuning in or joining us tonight. And with that being said, thank you for Ezra for joining us here tonight, and thank you to Hijacker Mike for joining us here tonight, breaking down the NFL and breaking down the latest news in the world of sports. And this NBA trade was just crazy with the Mavericks and the Lakers and all of that stuff. And again, thank you to everybody for joining us here tonight. Thank you to Kevin for sending in me his score tonight. And thank you to Ezra for joining us here tonight. Thank you, Joey, for joining me and Ezra and Hijacker here tonight. Thank you to everybody for joining us out there, watching this live or on demand. If you tune into this later on tonight, thank you very much as well. Or later on in the week, thank you very much as well. You can follow us on Twitter or X at @ON_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Our Nation Sports Show, and where we are live on most Tuesday nights at YouTube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. And also, don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner, Facebook.com/Nation's Corner, and where they are live on most Saturday nights, unless a pay-per-view or PLE is prohibiting that happening like the Royal Rumble was last week. They took the night off, and what a hell of a night it was in the Royal Rumble last week, highlighted by Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, and Charlotte Flair winning the Women's Royal Rumble, and that epic ladder match between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. That was one of the best ladder matches in a very, very long time. And be sure to join the guys and gals this weekend as they recap all the ins and the outs in professional wrestling, including the Royal Rumble from happening this past Saturday in Indianapolis, Indiana. And tune into their show at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. And thank you for everybody tuning in tonight. Had a great show with you guys here tonight. And again, thank you to Ezra. Thank you to Joey. Thank you to Hijacker. Thank you to Kevin and everybody out there. So with that being said, for K-Rock, Kevin Rory, for JT, Joey Thornton, Hijacker Mike, Ezra Vickery, and everybody out there, I've been your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand, and we will see you next week for another edition of our Nation Sports Show, live as we recap Super Bowl 59 for the Big Easy in New Orleans, Louisiana. And we will also be breaking down the upcoming offseason as we look ahead to the upcoming offseason with free agency on the horizon next March, when the next league season begins. And it's been a great year covering the NFL all year long, and we look forward to covering the offseason as it begins officially in March, but we will begin our coverage in the offseason and recapping the Super Bowl next week on another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Again, like I said, for JT, Joey Thornton, for K-Rock, Kevin Rory, for Ezra Vickery, for Hijacker Mike, I've been your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand, and tune in next week for another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care of one another. Be good to one another. Cherish each other. Make lots of great memories. Enjoy the wrestling. Enjoy the sports. Enjoy the big game in the NFL. Like I said, please gamble responsibly if you're going to be gambling on this game. And with that being said, we are out of here for tonight. See you next week. Peace.
Turn me up.